It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
Hey folks, smile. You're on video surveillance here in the greater city of Hazleton. I'm Sam Lesante, and we're on location here in the dispatch center at City Hall. Folks, you've seen it on our news and you've read it in a standard speaker about the video surveillance that's now happening in the city of Hazleton. I'm here with Mayor Yannuzzi and our police chief, Bob Ferdinand. First of all, I'd like to give you a little background, and we'll talk about this video surveillance, which I think is fantastic. And so criminals, beware. You're on candid camera, as they say. Bob, first of all, to you and the mayor, congratulations on another opportunity here of letting the people know that we're doing something about crime. Let's talk about crime. Across the country, okay, we were talking about something that's interesting, and people see in this town, people who are natives, who've been like you, Joe, born and raised, they look at this town and they say, oh my God, it's falling apart. We're afraid to walk the streets. I can't believe what's happening. I want to get out of the town. And that, rightly so, they're scared. But looking at 20 years ago and looking at it now, we're not unique of what's happening. Talk a little bit about that, Joe, Bob.
What you say is true, Sam. Hazleton is not unique in the types of problems that we're facing with crime and blight and so forth. Almost any city our size or even bigger sizes are facing the same thing. Different influxes of population, flat revenues, and increased expenses, and there are very serious challenges. And if you look at some of the municipalities in Pennsylvania as well as throughout the entire country, they're all very similar. As disturbing as it is for people living in Hazleton, because it doesn't compare to how it was 10 or 20 years ago, it's the trend, and everybody's trying to keep up.
And looking at that trend, okay, and we hear it all the time. I mean, when people come up to me and they'll say, Sammy, what a disgrace, it's sad. And yes, it is. I mean, there's no question about it, and they're afraid. But crime is bad, period. But it's come down from last year, okay, in the city of Hazleton. And this, another area here, which I think is fantastic, is just knowing that you're going to be watched, give you a second thought. Talking about your police force, now it's up to 40, okay, which is, again, an opportunity for us to see that we're improving on the crime issue. You have a problem. We know we have it. Joe said, what could we do about it? Well, it can't be resolved overnight, but we're seeing measures being done to help that, correct?
Oh, absolutely. And I think we had a spike in crime in 2007. We hired 10 officers back then, and we showed a marked decrease from 07 through the next several years. And we're down at pretty much the same levels. We have not increased, although there are absolutely disturbing crimes that we've seen at times. In general, it's not as bad as it appears. And as the mayor can say, with hiring new police officers to make up what we were losing, that's a big step as far as maintaining crime rates. And certainly the video cameras are another major thing.
I think what happens again, everybody says, why aren't there more policemen here? Do we do this? Why don't we do this? Everything boils down to money. I mean, you need revenue to hire these people, and it's easier said than done. And I've said this before, I've said it on air, and I'm not saying it because, you guys are here or because I'm in the police department. The police department we have in the city of Hazleton, as well as West Hazleton, Freeland, Cunningham, Butler Township, all the police in this area, McAdoo, Clangtown, all the areas, Butler Township. Hats off to the policemen, because I would not want to be a policeman today, a policewoman, and they do a fabulous job. Their lives are at stake every day, and you have a great organization here. You really do, and I want to let people know that. So when you see the cops around there, give them a break, because they're really doing the best that they can. With that being said, you're at 40. At one time on my show, you said a city of this size really should have how many?
I would say 50 to 60 officers easily.
With the addition of the additional policemen that you have coming on, what does that do for us in town? What will we be able to see?
You're going to see extra patrol officers. You'll see like another guy or two on the shifts, and that makes a big difference as far as the number of calls that we can answer, but actually having proactive patrols out there. Even one more person a shift makes a big difference in that regard.
Now, I asked you before, we're hoping to see some patrolmen walking the streets, correct? Right. Mayor, when you became mayor, you know, you knew that there was some serious problems, okay? You're born and raised, you live in downtown Hazleton, so you're not escaping it. This video surveillance where we're here today, which I think is fantastic, is another opportunity for letting the community know that they're being watched. Let's talk about how this thing evolved.
Okay. We applied for a grant for cameras through Wilkes-Barre's grant to the Gaming Commission. We were refused, and Wilkes-Barre got cameras. We didn't have any money, and how could we put this together? So we went with a public-private agreement, a partnership, and the merchants in downtown, the business people, have really stepped forward and made this a success. We have 28 cameras going right now and more to install. And he's been doing them as fast as he can. And every time he installs another camera, more business people step forward. So it's actually a great partnership where they purchase a camera and we get to use it. And we've been using them. It's a deterrent, not a complete deterrent, but it's almost like having another police officer or two on the streets. We have the eyes. We don't have the officer, but we have the eyes.
And we're going to talk about how this system works, folks. And it's a nice opportunity for us to know that there are a lot of eyes out there, like he said. With the video surveillance cameras, okay, can we say, look at a city, say before video surveillance, after video surveillance, has there been either a decrease or a quicker action to get those criminals, or how does that work?
Well, it'll take some time before we can tell definitively if there's a deterrent action in certain areas. We're behind a little bit till we generate all the reports that come in for the different crimes, usually several months to look at a long-term trend. And for that, to get an accurate picture of it, you're going to have to wait till cameras are in place and you look at very specific areas, and there's no really easy way to do that by area right at the moment, but that is one thing we'll definitely be looking at.
How about other cities that have the video surveillances?
Wilkes-Barre is a good example. I don't know how their before and after picture, because that's still a relatively new system. I know they use that very proactively to solve crimes once they're committed, and if they see suspicious activity, you know, they can act upon that right at the time, but it's helped them tremendously.
Well, going back to the video surveillance, okay, we had a crime here, okay, within the last year, where video cameras had nothing to do with the city. But explain what happened, how that was we were able to catch the person who shot. How did that work?
Well, you can see exactly what happens, who does what action on there, and as far as court purposes later on, that tells a great tale there. It just shows that, you know, you can say that I wasn't involved when you're clearly on the video. That helped us do a much quicker job at solving that crime. You know, otherwise it would have been very intensive investigative work, you know, talking to witnesses and trying to compel them to talk about what they've seen. So it was a great asset.
Mayor, in terms of what we have here in City Hall, and folks, I'm here at the dispatch center at City Hall where the video surveillances are set up. Not only do we have these, and we'll talk about how they work after we come up with a break, but there are a lot of other businesses, folks, such as where you got your video from, that is not tied into this. They have their own video. So there's a lot of businesses that have their own video, okay? Right. When I come back from break, I'd like to know the difference between having your own versus what you do here and how they're being policed, as we can see on the camera. Folks, I'm at the dispatch center. Video surveillance now in the city of Hazleton. We have a problem, folks. We're doing everything we possibly can to help deter criminal activity, and it's happening. We'll see you right after the break. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. I'm on location here at the dispatch center at City Hall in Hazleton, and I'm speaking with Chief Ferdinand and Mayor Yanuzzi, and we're talking now about the video surveillance, which I think is a great opportunity to deter crime and many eyes out there. You don't know what's happening. So, folks, you know, you can rest assured that the city of Hazleton is doing whatever they can to help deter criminal activity. Before one note, when we had the FBI agent on gangs here on with Congressman Barletta and Senator Yudichak, and he was talking about the gang activity and how it happens and the educational part. Okay, a lot of people who watch the show, including me, you know, I was surprised to learn many things that happen with criminal activity and gangs, etc., which is a learning process to keep us aware of what's happening. Now, Mayor, let's get back to the surveillance cameras. So, folks, what we're looking at right now, explain how this works.
Well, these cameras are fixed cameras throughout the city, and they direct feed right back here to City Hall. This is actually happening at this moment. So if there is a crime, we have quick access to the area. We can redo the tape, see where it is, and download it onto a disk and have all the information we need if there's a crime. We can also follow a crime happening. You know, if a car is on the move, we can follow it even up into Kitty's Auto Parts out on the boundaries of Hazleton.
With the camera?
Yeah, well, as you go.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Different cameras
Okay.
throughout. Now, the more we get, the easier it's going to be to do that.
To give you an example, folks, here are some of the people that have the cameras installed, okay? We have Vesuvios, we have Hazel Drug, we have Bonoma Flooring, we have Minsec, Kitty's, we have Carrier Lake, we have the USA Pork Packers, we have Joyce Insurance, we have Dreyfus Insurance, we have Luzerne Tire, we have Grand Central, and coming on board are these other ones, Hazel Lions Club, the Playground, and of course City Hall, different things. However, there are many other businesses, as I said, that do also have video cameras that are not tied in. Now, being tied in here, what's the advantage of us being tied into City Hall, Bob?
If an officer's here, we can monitor and dispatch right from here, and if we see a problem, we can have direct officers to that location and call out and say, okay, there's a suspect still at that location. You know, that's an important aspect if it comes to that. If something occurred that we didn't witness and we want to look immediately after the fact, that happens in one of the camera covered areas, we can rewind it pretty much and be able to view what happened and put the information right out there. It makes our reaction time much quicker than it would be if we had to go to individual stores.
Well, when you're looking, for example, right, this is all live right now. Okay, is this being recorded?
Yes.
Okay, and how, Joe, stand over here. How does this work then, as far as it being recorded? Bob, come in here a second.
We have this console over there with two computers in it, and they're all downloaded. They said they can go, depending on how many cameras they have on it, up to a month.
A month, and then so after a month, you know, then you just start over again.
Right.
So it's 24/7, which they're being recorded. Okay. In terms of course, it's great because once the word's out, knowing that they're being watched, you don't know where you're being watched, becomes a deterrent. I had asked before. I don't know any of the correct statistics, but I would assume that if someone's coming into a city and they know that they have video surveillance, I mean, I think twice before, especially with all these locations here, I think you're going to be thinking twice before you go in there and decide to do some criminal activity. Am I correct?
I would say so. As the mayor said, it's not an absolute deterrent, but where there is knowledge that there is video coverage, you would think that you'd be less likely to come into an area covered by that, because whether it's your basic description, your face, or your license plate is going to be captured there that the police can act upon and make an arrest, that's got to be at least some deterrent.
Bob, we talked about this before on the show. When we have some kind of criminal activity, if there's a shooting and the bad element that's coming in, there's a lot of great elements here, okay, and we're not picking on any group here, but sometimes people feel that the police department, you know, City Hall's not aware of what's going on, okay? And reassure them that they're selling drugs out here. We see it activity all the time. Sam, they're not coming. They don't care. There's transactions going ahead. Tell them how that works, because I think most of the times you do know what's going on. It's just the fact that you're doing what you have to do. And how does that process work again?
With drug investigations, because you don't see a marked patrol car or an officer in uniform, doesn't mean that it's not being watched. You know, we have very good undercover plainclothes officers. With our department, we work in conjunction with other agencies that multiplies our forces. So we're out there watching a lot, you know, and there's obviously with limited resources, you can only keep an eye actively on so many things at one time, but we see a lot of different things. These guys travel, they're associated with other people, we know associations, so any information we get is great, you know, from citizens that call and say, hey, a drug transaction just took place here. That might be already under surveillance, or we're watching this, and that's part of probable cause for an arrest later on.
You know, Bob, when again, many people come up and they'll talk to me about the different shows, and they'll, you know, when I have you on, he's such a nice guy. Is he a tough policeman? I mean, he seems to be so happy-go-lucky. You know, I don't think he's that tough, Sammy. You know, like Rizzo. Mayor Rizzo was tough, and we got to be mean, etc. Okay. Folks, you know, I always say sometimes don't interpret kindness for weakness. You know, I think in you know, what being said, you are a pleasant chief, but I think that you're pretty solid when it comes to, you know, what's going on with crime. I mean, don't let the facade of his nice personality think that, you know, he's not tough on crime, because I get that, you know, he's not tough on crime. Getting to you, Mayor, okay, when you assumed the job, we had you on the show and we talked about what your, you know, plans were for the city, okay? You've said it before. You were born and raised here. You live in downtown Hazleton. Right. Where do you live? Right on Pine Street.
Pine and Hawley.
Pine and Hawley. So you're in downtown. Okay. You're not escaping. And how do you feel about what you're doing as far as, you know, your vision here for the city?
Well, right now I feel that there's been an improvement. I think that the first thing on everybody's mind is crime and the high rate of crime, and everything, every news station, crime. So it's in them that they're seeing more. Communication is a lot better than it was before. So you think there's a lot more crime, and it's really not. Things are changing, and we're changing with it. So this is part of it. But I want to tell you a story, though. We had an incident.
Okay.
We found out from the victim the time and the day, and we went in, looked at it, found the victim, saw the suspect, and we got as much information as we can. So it already worked.
And you know what? Word gets out fast. Okay, if you're a criminal and you're dealing with something, word gets out real fast. Okay, folks, I want to assure you of this. Okay, don't know how it works. But don't think for one moment that they're not aware of what's happening in the city of Hazleton. Don't think for one moment that the police department and the people who are working here don't know who's selling the drugs. They think they may be getting away with it, but sooner or later it's going to happen. I'm here at the dispatch center with Chief Ferdinand and Mayor Iannuzzi. We come back, we'll wrap this up. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show. Folks, we're here at the Dispatch Center at City Hall in Hazleton. We're talking about the video surveillance, which now is in full swing. A lot of businesses. Let me repeat some of the businesses again who are on. Many more coming on. We have Vesuvio's, we have Hazel Drug, we have Bonomo Flooring, we have Minsec, we have Kitty's, we have Career Link, we have USA Pork Packers, we have Joyce Insurance, we have Dreyfus Insurance, Luzerne Tire, Grand Central coming on board, a Hazleton Lions Club, and the playgrounds, and of course City Hall, and there's many more coming on board. Idea is to keep a lot of eyes out there and deter those people who are doing criminal activity. Your vision for the city, Mayor, we want to see some hope in the city of Hazleton, particularly you being a native. What's your vision here?
I want a safer place to live, work, and play for Hazleton. And that all can happen, I think, if we just keep working towards building the police force back up to where it was, getting surveillance cameras in like we're doing, and hopefully to entice businesses to come downtown. I think downtown Broad Street is going to be a big draw for people that want to open a little business. It's going to be the perfect place. It's going to be a beautiful entrance into the city, and I think that's going to help.
We're a lot of people are asking us too, because we're located on Broad Street. But is there a place they can go on a website to take a look at what this place, what the downtown's going to look like? Do we have drawings? Because people say, well, what is actually going to happen? Well, actually, what will happen downtown? What will we be seeing?
From this point on now, they're widening the street
Yeah.
for an extra lane in the center lane so that they can make a turn
Okay.
without disturbing traffic flow.
Yeah.
So they're taking so many feet off of each side.
Mm-hmm.
They're redoing the sidewalks, curbs, replacing the trees, replacing the lights, replacing the signals. I mean, it's going to be beautiful when it's done.
Will there be synchronized signals?
The lights are going to be synchronized to the point where hopefully our police officers can hit a button and they get green. Emergency route.
Emergency route. So, I mean, you won't have the congestion that you have now. It's I mean, it's a little inconvenient right now, but we're willing to go through that. When it's done, I think you'll have a nice...
If you're going through downtown, you want to see what's downtown and not be worried about trying to get through downtown and get it over with. It's going to be a pleasant ride through downtown. You'll be able to go through at your speed and not have to hurry up and...
Okay, people who are not living downtown, what about those people up in the Heights? What are the people up in Poplar Street? What are the people in, Mungie Street, up in, Cleveland Street, the surrounding area? What are we doing, in terms of these areas for blight and people who are not taking care of their properties and all that stuff?
We formed a blight committee. We're out there right now making lists of the blighted properties that we have, and then we're going to approach them in, do we demolish the property? Do we rebuild the property? But first, we'll have to go through the courts with the citations of all the things that they have wrong with their properties, and hopefully they'll correct them. If they don't correct them, then we can close the place.
You did a sweep last year. I don't know if you did another sweep this year. Okay, was that sweep effective?
Yes.
Because some people, it was effective. Are we planning another sweep?
I was just going to say that tomorrow at their staff meeting, because Wilkesburg pulled one off this weekend. The same thing. They went through the properties, knocked on doors, and pointed out the blighted properties and their problems with them, and asked them to correct them before they cite them.
Well, once of all, we want to congratulate the people who are volunteering for the blight, and
Yes,
because there's, you don't have these volunteers, and they do their best, and sometimes take a little abuse for it. The landlord situation. What's happening with the landlord situation right now?
Well, we want to be able to go into properties, and when you do that, you're going after the bad landlords. But it's like your car. You take care of your car, so do I. Why do I have to get it inspected? Everybody gets it inspected. And this is what we're trying to do with the properties. Everybody has to be inspected. And in that process, we'll find the people that are negligent with their properties. And so what we want them to do is be licensed, and we want them to have an inspection every year. But apparently the landlords don't want to pay for the process, so it's on hold.
Well, it's something where you try to arbitrate and try to do whatever you can, but the whole purpose is to try to get things better. Bob, in conclusion here, okay, just come in a little bit here. So, in conclusion with the police department, you got 40 already. We'll be seeing some people hitting the streets, correct? And what do you need in terms of the future here for the city of Hazleton?
Well, you kind of look at the ratio of revenues and project into the future what you can expect. If you can hire more officers, look at population trends, and I'm hoping that we can be in a position in the future to add even more officers to cut down on crime in the future.
Revenue. How are we going to get more revenue, Joe?
We're going to have to hopefully entice people to open up different stores downtown and bring in business. We are going to bring one in pretty soon. It's a manufacturing, and it's going to be with the wind turbine outfit that we have coming in there. The wind energy, yeah. Well, they're going to manufacture in Hazleton, so that'll be a couple more jobs in Hazleton proper.
Where could you grow in Hazleton? We have a minute. Where can we grow in Hazleton?
The Beltway, and the Conahan Drive. There's property there. We have to try and get that stimulated. Downtown Hazleton's a great place for retail stores and whatever else you would like.
Well, yeah, the intermodal, you have parking starting to develop. Right. Folks, we're here at the Dispatch Center here at City Hall and talking to Chief Ferdinand and the Mayor Yanuzzi about the video surveillance. Once again, this is only a start. There are many of them on board. Many more are coming aboard. For those businesses or anyone interested in becoming a part of this surveillance, I would suggest you call City Hall and ask for the mayor's office. He'll be more than happy to give you the information. And for those businesses who already have surveillance, like we have at Channel 13, congratulations. But maybe if we can tie in with the city, it would be a lot better. There's opportunities here. I know one thing, folks. We are here in downtown Hazleton. We have a vested interest in this town, and we're concerned about it. We just can't throw our hands up and say, hey, things are bad. I think when you compare what we have now versus what's happening in this country, I'm said crime is crime. I'm not, saying it's fantastic, but we're a lot better off than those other cities. So once again, if you have any questions, please call City Hall. And when you see those cops on the street, give them some help because they're working their butts off for you. Okay? We'll see you next time.